Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Our next candidate is a candidate for re-election to the Cambridge City Council. Jivan Sobrinho Wheeler is serving his first term on the Cambridge City Council, where he is the chair of the Transportation and Public Utilities Committee and co-chair of the Housing Committee. Before starting on the council, he worked at the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy in Cambridge and volunteered as a tenants' rights organizer. Like two-thirds of Cambridge residents, but significantly fewer councilors, he is a renter. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Jivan Sobrinho Wheeler. Hello, Jivan. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here today. And of course, I open up with every candidate with the same question. Jivan, coming out of this pandemic and all that we've been through, why are you running for re-election for the Cambridge City Council?
Yeah, it's my first term on the council. It has not been a typical term by any means. Was just starting to get the hang of things in the beginning of the year, and the pandemic hit. And a lot of this first term has been focused on, getting testing setting up 7 days a week. We're at 4 days a week now, and may go back up, and getting vaccines out. But we've been able to do some big things on housing and transit as well. I grew up partly in subsidized housing, and like you mentioned, like two-thirds of Cambridge residents, I'm a renter. So I know what it's like to get a rent increase this year and the previous year, and wonder how much longer I'll be able to afford to keep living in Cambridge. And that's the position that so many folks I know and that folks at Cambridge are in. We are losing teachers, social workers, mechanics. The median cost to rent a one-bedroom here is $2,300 a month. The median cost to buy even a one-bedroom is $800,000. A single-family home costs $1.5 million. Cambridge has some of the most expensive housing in the country, and I've been fighting to bring the urgency that the housing crisis demands, along with a couple other pieces, and bring that my background, as you said, from the Lincoln Institute and from volunteering as a tenants' rights organizer, to this work.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, Jivan, what are your top 3 issues here for the city? What is you most passionate about, and as a city councilor, what are you most proud about in terms of your accomplishments?
Absolutely. I think the biggest priorities: housing, transportation and Green New Deal policies, and municipal broadband. Housing, incredibly expensive, and the most important issue for the vast majority of folks in Cambridge. This term, we've been able to pass an affordable housing ordinance that's going to create hundreds of new affordable homes. I was the co-sponsor. The council didn't have enough votes to pass it until I started, and we were able to pass this term. I start the conversation on a Cambridge Community Land Trust to take housing off the speculative market, because we've seen prices just go out of control enormously, and it would create more permanently affordable housing and create more homeownership opportunities. And I've worked to create more tenant protections, like a condo conversion ordinance that I've worked on with Mayor Siddiqui, who's the lead sponsor. So there's a bunch of different pieces we need. I don't take any money from developers for that reason, so that folks know that focus is on housing, and pushing for greater things like rent stabilization and tenant protections like just cause eviction. All of those are really important on the housing front. We need an alternative.
Let me ask you, in terms of the housing, would you increase property taxes to help pay for some of the housing?
Cambridge has some of the lowest tax rates in the country. And so when you look at the rates that MIT's commercial arm, that asset management companies like the Blackstone Group are paying right now, it's less than anywhere else in Massachusetts, and they should absolutely be paying more, as should Harvard and MIT, right? They are nonprofits technically, so they don't pay any taxes, and we need to be pushing for them to contribute more, because they have been some of the creators of the housing crisis in Cambridge.
Right. Would you emphasize or advocate more for the big owners, the big players, the Harvard, the MITs, in terms of raising their taxes or raising their contributions? Or would you go to the homeowners, the 2-3 unit owners, or the single family homes? Or where would you see that money coming from?
We've got to be pushing for more from the corporations, the universities at the top. I mean, these are the folks who are the biggest landowners in Cambridge, right? MIT is the largest landowner by far, and all of their university holdings, they pay $0 in taxes right now. Mm-hmm. There's a bill in the legislature that would change that right now and mandate 25% of the contributions. And there's more we can be doing to really demand that sort of contribution as well. So housing is a big focus. Getting an alternative to Comcast, which has a monopoly in Cambridge right now. We need a public alternative for internet. In the pandemic, we've all been relied on it so much. I mean, I'm doing this interview over the internet right now, but
Right.
50% of low-income households don't have broadband access, and we're all stuck with the Comcast monopoly. Cities like Concord, Massachusetts have municipal broadband, which is a public alternative. We could have that here in Cambridge, which is an innovative alternative, innovation city. It revolves around education and technology. We should have that here. So that's been another big priority. And then as well, Green New Deal policies, things like pushing for fare-free buses, improved public transit, sidewalk snow removal, and municipal sidewalk snow removal. These are all things we could be doing as a city.
Right. Jivan, and when it comes to broadband, is that free? Is that, or is that a lower cost than Comcast? I'm not that familiar with it.
Yeah, it would be an investment from the city that would be significantly lower cost for residents, and over time, it would pay for itself. So the upfront cost is, maybe about as much as an elementary school, but over time, it would pay for itself. It would be a way to guarantee privacy and net neutrality for residents. And a way to provide, better service than Comcast is providing now as well. And it's sort of thinking of the internet as utility, like we think of our other utilities, which in the 21st century, it really is.
Mm-hmm. And tell me, in terms of transportation, what do you think of I know we have all the outdoor dining now. That was one of the few positive things that's come out of the pandemic. People seem to be pretty happy with it. We've added the bike lanes. A lot of people seem to as a biker, I always feel more comfortable in the bike lane, but as a driver, I see the challenges with parking and congestion and people going slower and less lanes. Do you think you could act as a happy, or help create a happy medium so we can have compatibility and respect for the biking community and the drivers and the shop owners and the restaurants here in the city? Do you see yourself playing that role in City Hall?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the piece that works the best is when folks know where they should be on the streets. Right now, you have some streets that where it's just sort of a free for all, where there's no bike lanes. There's also very little pedestrian space, and you have parts in central where pedestrians and car drivers and cyclists are all sort of weaving in and out of each other. The more that everybody can know where they're supposed to be on the street is how we're going to have an improved rate of flow for everyone. And the pandemic has shown we can be really creative with, taking space for outdoor dining, creating spaces like Starlight Square that was formerly just a parking lot in Central Square. And now it's a place for artists, a place for local businesses and vendors, a place for community groups, that we can be really creative and do some things in a short time span. But it takes that community engagement, it takes that outreach, and it takes planning to really make it happen.
Right. Do you think, to your point about the parking and the parking spaces that are lost, what do you think the solution should be to, I don't know how many parking spaces were lost or how many cars have, are actually registered in the city. And I think there's probably less now than there was before the pandemic started. I know there's less parking spaces. What do you say to the people who drive to work? They don't have access to public transportation. Are you open to helping to create more parking? Or what do you say to the people that depend on the automobile to get to work and to get their kids to school, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, we have some of the worst traffic in the country here in Cambridge. And the first thing I always think of is, when you're in a hole, stop digging. And we're requiring that, to make new housing, you have to add new parking right now with parking minimums. And so that's encouraging more people to drive to the city or to move to Cambridge and bring their cars, and making things worse and worse. So the more we can provide alternatives for people by walking, taking public transit, that's also going to improve for folks who do have to drive. They're going to make their lives easier instead of making it more difficult by forcing more and more people to compete for these limited resources. We're a pretty small city, pretty dense, and if we keep having more and more folks commuting here for their jobs or moving here and bringing cars, we're going to see worse and worse traffic. And so we've got to be thinking about some of those alternatives, and that's going to improve things for everyone.
Right. And as I'm sure you're aware, they still are going to need places to put that automobile when they get here or whatever. So it's just, I think it's, from what I'm seeing, and I don't know if you agree or not, but it's not necessarily a rivalry between bikes and cars and shop owners or restaurants, but we need some sort of compatibility, and I would say mutual respect for people, because yeah, everybody's trying to just do the best they can in terms of getting from point A to point B for whatever reason they have to travel that distance. We are at our closing statement. Can you wrap it up for us, Jivan?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you again for having me. Yeah. I'm serving my first term as a city councilor. And this past term, we've been able to do both, really specific pieces, getting COVID testing set up, passing an affordable housing ordinance. We've been able to, I was the lead sponsor on an ordinance to allow restaurants to have live acoustic music without having to apply to the city. We've banned tear gas. We've made important changes, and we've got more to do in this next term as well. A piece I'm really excited on is that this fall there's going to be 3 amendments to the city's charter up for consideration, including to do Cambridge's first charter review in more than 80 years and really look at the sort of strong city manager, weak council system that we have, and how to have some checks and balances and take a look at our charter review. Most cities do a charter review every 5 or 10 years. Cambridge has not done one in more than 80 years. So if that passes, we'll be able to do some of the structural pieces as well. So I've been really proud to be a part of all this work during my time on the council, and I hope I can keep being part of it in the next term.
Great. Thank you so much, Jivan. And where can people find you, and how do you want them to vote for you? What number do you want them to vote?
I would ask for the number 1 vote. It's most important with ranked choice voting. I have a website, votejivan.com, on Twitter and Instagram @votejivan, and on Facebook you can find Jivan for Cambridge there as well. Thank you again.
Great. Thank you so much, Jivan. Nice to see you again, and best of luck. See you on the trail.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.